More than 150 whales are stranded on a beach off the coast of Tasmania. Conservationists say around 90 of them are still alive, but it's unlikely they can be saved. I'm joined now by marine scientist Dr. Vanessa Pirotta. Thanks so much for joining us on this. A huge number. How is it possible that they have been stranded like this?
That's a great question. We don't know why whales strand, and these are known as false killer whales. And they also are stranded in a place on the west coast of Tasmania, which is becoming known as a global hotspot for stranding. So it's a tricky situation, but unfortunately, of the 157 individuals, that some of which you can see now, 90 or so still remain, but the efforts to assist from authorities, marine biologists, experts have unfortunately been unsuccessful. The location, the weather, the sea conditions have all unfortunately resulted in these animals being deemed as unable to be assisted, and so they will now be euthanized.
Gosh, that's an awful development. So are some of them still alive, or most of them still alive? But either way, as you kind of made clear, the conclusion is they're not going to survive.
No, the longer an animal stays on shore, and so they probably won't do it very well. And the reason being, because a lot of people are wondering, why can't you just get the tail and drag them out? Well, they're the size of a car. They're really heavy. They're long. And one of the main reasons these animals don't do very well is because they've never felt their own body weight ever before, because they've had the ultimate water birth. So their weight of their body can crush their organs. And so the reality is some that were able to be assisted were coming back. And so that's not good. So because of the position, the location of where this has occurred, and as you can see here, it's not the easiest place to access. So it may be the case that these animals will be euthanized and potentially left in the area for nature to take its place. And at a time when these kind of things happen, we advise no swimming in the water, because the natural juicy processes of the decomposition of a whale will likely attract sharks, which are all part of the natural ecosystem.
And just finally, you mentioned that there have been quite a few of these types of mass strandings in recent years in this sort of area. Is that a fear that this kind of thing is going to keep happening?
Well, it's almost becoming that fear, right? We don't understand why strandings happen globally, but on the west coast, or at least around Tasmania, we are seeing strandings quite often. And in Australian waters, it's usually the pilot whale. These are false killer whales. So there hasn't been a stranding with this species in that area for at least 50 years or so. So the geographic regions will definitely be at play. Every single stranding that happens, we learn from. If we could understand why these animals do it, we would love that. We would love to try and prevent it. But if anything out of a completely awful situation is that we will now learn more about a species we really don't know much about in Australian waters. So genetics will be taken, samples, potentially look inside their stomachs to learn about a species that is relatively unknown here in Australian waters.
Dr. Vanessa Pirotta, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.